all get to an accurate response, and we're ready to jot down our answers and exit ticket later on. Questions before we begin? What question are we answering? How does Shakespeare characterize Macbeth in Acts 1 and 2? What theme is he developing through this shift in characterization? I'm setting the timer for 10 minutes, and you may begin.
Shakespeare characterizes Macbeth as loyal, hard, and brave in Act 1, but then in Act 2, he's characterized as murderous and mentally unstable. And
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Salif. Just one quick reminder for my people on the outside. Remember that you are, one, finishing your work that you were supposed to do before the seminar. If you finish that, you're moving on to catching notes for what they're saying on the inside, so you can add to your own response later. So you always have something to do. So I should see pens in hand, or tracking the speaker, or tracking your papers. Take it away, Salif.
in Act 1, page 2, it says, on the captain, it says, for the great Macbeth, what he deserved that day. This daily fortune, with his greatness ship, which smoked with his blood execution, like rather many curve out his time. And that's basically evidence of saying how he was a brave soldier during the fight in the war. And the way my evidence for Act 2 is in Act 2, page 1, through 33 to 40, it says, is this a dagger I see in front of me, with its handle pointing towards my hand? To the dagger, come out, let me hold you. And he grabs at the air in front of him without touching anything. This is basically him imagining a dagger in front of him, the dagger that he was going to kill King Duncan with. And that's why I think he's murderous and mentally unstable.
I agree with you, Salif, and I also think that showing the change of his characterization from Act 1 to Act 2 Shakespeare shows the theme of how power could change people and make them greedy, because we know in Act 1, when the idea of killing King Duncan came up, Shakespeare was very weary about it and didn't want to do it, but then Lady Macbeth pretty much used the point of masculinity to make him do it, and then in Act 2, it shows how that affected him, and because after he killed King Duncan, he started having hallucinations, and he couldn't sleep, and he was pretty much very mentally unstable. He was going through psychosis, so I think that shows how power could change people, because like Salif said, in Act 1, he was very kind and loyal, but in Act 2, all he cared about was power and greed, pretty much.
To add on to Summer about him not sleeping, in Act 2, Scene 2, on the bottom page, he says, still it cried, sleep no more to all the house. Lemus hath murdered sleep, and therefore he called it, shall sleep no more, Macbeth shall sleep no more. Meaning, he knows that the consequences of what he has done, to Duncan, is gonna affect him. So him killing Duncan has left him hallucinating, like Salif said. He's seeing things and he doesn't know how to react to certain things. From from Act 1, he was more determined and he was brave and stuff, but then now he's more psycho and he's a little unstable.
I agree with both Rosemary and Summer by saying to show how Macbeth has constantly been changing since Act 1 because of the idea of killing King Duncan. But I would also like to point out that it's because of Lady Macbeth that he's been acting some ways and he's been changing his moral standards. Because if you go back to Act 1, where it says Lady Macbeth, it's Act 1, Scene 7, 49 through 51. She keeps on emasculating Macbeth, and she ends up showing that she's more manlier than him by saying 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from its boneless gums and dashed its brains out. So she's kind of using, so like through the use of imagery, it's trying to show how Lady Macbeth is more sinister or more evil than Macbeth, because she's willing to kill even if it means for power. And the question that I have for all of us would have to be, if Lady Macbeth had acted differently, do you think that Macbeth would be more unstable or less unstable in Act 2?
I want to agree with Camille by saying that Macbeth's wife did like force him to, well, not really force, but like get him to kill Duncan by masculine. I forgot the word, but masculine, like using masculinity to make him kill Duncan by like degrading him as a man. I wanted to go to like Act 1, Scene 5, lines 55 and 57, where I think that Lady Macbeth was relating Macbeth as like a gentle flower, because if you've seen in Act 1, he was like kind, he was like friends with, I think it was either Duncan or Banquo, but they were like good friends, and like before they heard what the witches had seen for a prophecy, they were really good. They were even laughing that they didn't believe it. So that showed how good of a friendship they had. But like going into like Act 2, it showed how much Macbeth was power hungry. Well, I can't blame him for being power hungry, but it was like the actions of his wife for like using his masculinity against him to kill his friend, and also Banquo, and also that later on he was trying to, he felt too guilty of his actions that he was trying to like stop thinking about it. But as we've seen also in the movie, that he was starting to hallucinate and start to see Banquo like coming back to him as like haunting him in his mind, because he couldn't handle like all that guilt of killing him and Banquo due to three witches telling him that he will become Thane of Cawdor. But he wasn't like, it wasn't enough for him. He was too power hungry, and so yeah.
To answer Camille's question about like whether he would stay the same if Lady Macbeth didn't push him to, I think there might be a chance that he could have still continued down that path even though she didn't push him. Cause in Act 1, Scene 3, it shows how like he's brainstorming. It says this supernatural temperature doesn't seem like it can be a bad thing, but it can't be good either. That just shows how like he's thinking about it, but he's not really acting on it. But he could have acted on it. He just needed some more time, but he just did it immediately because Lady Macbeth pushed him to do it.
I kind of agree, because I think Shakespeare is trying to like also make a theme about ambition, because it was all because of Lady Macbeth's ambition that led him to killing the king. And it also connects to Indian Beauty, because after he killed the king, he kept wanting to do more and like have more power, and that was like the change. But I think it's all because it was Lady Macbeth's fault, because he wanted him to have no remorse and just do whatever it takes to get more power.
I agree with Jennifer's theme about how ambition and greed can make a person want more power. And adding on to the theme, I said that with the use of ambition, it could convey that ambition can make a person do unimaginable things. And it's seen,
One more time?
oh, I said that ambition can make a person do unimaginable things, especially for power. And it's seen with how Macbeth, after killing the king, he decides to kill Banquo later on inside of the play. And he does that to make sure that no one can get in his way and he can stay king. But even if he tries to do that, he'll still be haunted with like the guilt and the sorrow that he feels for like killing the king, even if it was not by design, but it was like Lady Macbeth's intentions.
I have a question. Do you guys think like if he would have never done anything to Duncan, like if he would have let the prophecy gone by, would he still be king?
I don't think so.
I think so because prophecy, like especially since it's coming from the witches, prophecy is maybe like a fate that might happen, but it's still fate. So if it was destined to happen, then I think it would have happened naturally. But him overthinking it too much made it want him to have it like actually like he didn't know he was going to have it and he was gonna make it his.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't, actually do not think so. Even though it was a prophecy, but like even Beth knew that for him to get king it would take a really long time. Cause didn't he ask Duncan, and Duncan was perfectly fine the whole entire time, the whole play. And that's all.
You can finish it off.
Basically what I was saying is Duncan was fine the whole entire play, and so it probably would have took a long time for Macbeth to get king. Rather, Macbeth could have got king right there and then because that's what he did.
But like anybody could have went and killed Duncan. Like it's something that's like not determined. So it's like, why did Macbeth think that it was like the best decision to take matters into his own hands?
Because he fought.
Oh, I think that I actually disagree with Abraham, and I agree with Sleep. I think the prophecy was given to him to show how power hungry he is. I don't think it was gonna happen without him doing it because the fate was for him to commit these crimes and show how greedy he was. I think that was the fate, and I think maybe this is just a prediction. Maybe it's to show the difference between Macbeth and Banquo's how they thought about the prophecy because Banquo just thought it was gonna come true, but Macbeth made it come true, and I think that's what it wasn't meant to just come true its own way. I think it was given to Macbeth to show how power hungry he was.
The thing about prophecy is that it was given to him that the witches said that he would get Dana Carter and king. He could interpret it the way he wants to. So if he thought I had to kill King Duncan for me to be able to become king, he could interpret it in the way he wants to. Nothing in the prophecy said that he had to be violent or gruesome towards King Duncan for him to get king. He basically just took his fate into his own hands and decided if I want to become king, I have to kill King Duncan for that to happen.
Exactly. Like from the start, I agree. From the start, he's just been thinking about murderous intentions, meaning there wasn't very much of a big change other than that he became a little bit unstable and that he actually killed 2 people. But it's like he decided from the start that there was no other way he would become king if something happened to Duncan, meaning he had to kill him, or if he would have to send somebody to kill him. So he took matters into his own hands.
I agree with both Makia and Rosemary. So the idea of a whole prophecy, like we stated before, was that it was supposed to come naturally. So when Macbeth took matters into his own hands, especially including Lady Macbeth, which sort of rushed the process even more, because of her emasculating ideals and the ideals that she thought that a man should hold, which is you're not supposed to feel remorse or sorrow for the person that you kill or have no guilt. That kind of rushed things more, and that also led to the instability that Macbeth feels now, where we are currently in the play, where he's now seeing the ghost of Banquo, and he's now going back to the sisters to see if he can try to change anything else, but it keeps on getting worse, and he has to use the power and the ambition that he has to stay king, or else he feels like he's going to lose it all.
I have a question for you really quickly. Do you think it's Lady Macbeth's fault that King Duncan is dead?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I don't, but here's the thing, I don't agree with that because in the beginning, we already knew that he was a very violent person. He had killed someone literally in the most gruesome way possible. And then after he heard the prophecy from the witch, he was already thinking about killing King Duncan. So I think maybe Lady Macbeth probably pushed him more towards that, but not really convinced him of doing it because he was already thinking of doing it.
Yeah, I
He had
agree.
Period.
the way to do it.
Great question. I hate to cut you off, but I do want to make sure that we have enough time for the people in the outer circle to have their chance to speak and ask the questions that they took the time to create. But before you wrap up and start the transition, I want you to do one more thing when Edith comes back. Look at the notes that you've taken. based on what was already said in this seminar. In your notes, give yourself feedback on the discussion, whether you spoke or not. Give your group this feedback. Did you acknowledge shift in characterization? Were points made about Macbeth being one way in Act 1 and a different way in Act 2? Find your notes to see, find it in your notes, excuse me, to see if that was mentioned in the seminar. Also, was a clear theme mentioned? Did we ask enough questions to each other to get to the point of what Shakespeare wants us to learn from Macbeth's experience? I will mention themes that I heard said in case you missed it, or attempts to themes. So I see power can change people was brought up. Ambition was brought up, but I didn't hear a clear message about ambition. And then, what else? Calista said something really strong. Calista, you? Oh, Calissa's on the outside. I'm sorry. I heard